All right, hey everyone, Cody here. Hey, I have a few questions I wanted to add to the video library on YouTube. So the questions are, what rank will I be upon hiring? This is for special agent in the diplomatic security service. What type of overseas posts are the best? I abbreviated that question because it was a little longer. I have a clearance with another federal agency. Will it transfer? I don't know if I answered this question before. I have so many videos out. We'll see. I'll tell you. And then, do I work with applicants prior to the vacancy announcement? Yeah, prior or during. But I do work with people, preparing for the Bex, which is the panel interview after you get through the first online portion. But we'll talk about that more. So, what rank will I be upon hiring? So, you're going to be an FS or FP6. This is just the way it is. Everyone as a DS special agent comes as FS6. Now, they can step you out if you were a Fed somewhere else, whether it's in law enforcement or another capacity. They can step you out to your salary, around your salary. So you might be an FS6, say step 9, where I believe the majority comes in around FS6, step 4 or 5. So if you're, for example, I was a Marine security guard. I was a Marine. I had a little bit of experience outside the Marine Corps, and I got FS6 step 4, which I think most of my class did. And then you have guys that were like officers in the Navy for Navy SEAL teams with graduate degrees or a graduate degree, and they might come in stepped out higher. I know a guy that was also a former MSG, but he was like ICE or something, not a special agent, but with their deportation teams, and he ended up getting like stepped out to whatever the highest step is. So you're going to be a 6, but you might be able to get stepped out. What I would advise is, and this is very important, is if you don't feel that they are giving you what you deserve, you can negotiate. You can push back. You can say, look, I think I should get this because of this, this, and this. I didn't. I was advised to do it. I didn't. Looking back, I wish I had. This is a different section. This is human resources. They're the ones negotiating with you. They're not going to say, look, I don't, just because you negotiate, we're not going to give you the position. It does not work that way. So I would recommend, if you feel you have some special skill set or reason that you should get a higher step, not grade, not rank, but step, then I would encourage you to push back respectfully and negotiate. But remember, some people come a dime a dozen. If you were in the military, if you were federal law enforcement, if you were law enforcement, MSG, Marine Security Guard, like I was, a lot of you guys and girls out there. So they have a threshold where they're going to give you what they give you, and that's the way it is. But if you have some unique experience that not a lot of people have, then certainly push back and try to, get a higher rank. This next question, let me jump actually to the other one. So I have a clearance with another Fed agency. Will it transfer? So the answer is yeah, it does. It could. There's a thing called reciprocity. Again, I don't know if I talked about this in another video, but yeah, it could. The problem is the agency that currently holds your clearance, who knows how long it's going to take for them to get that clearance to state. I had it. I had a clearance. DOD was holding it. DOD was very, very slow to get my clearance over. State ended up doing a interim clearance within 3 months. I got my interim TS and then later my full TS. So, I don't know why some agencies take so long. Just blame it on the bureaucracy. But that is part of it. So yes, you could get reciprocity. It could transfer. In many cases, it will. I've heard recently that some other clearances had transferred very quickly, but there are some cases where it's up to that agency. It might just be quicker for state to do their investigation. So once you get hired on, or once you get an offer and you go through this process, you'll have someone at state to communicate with, to go back and forth with, to tell you what might be the best approach. All right, so what type of overseas posts are the best? So this is a loaded question. It really depends on the person. I like, and I think probably most of my colleagues and friends in DS liked medium-sized posts. You get a little bit of the best of both worlds. So I'm looking at size of post, by the way, because you can get it. The crazier the post you go to, like if it's a wild post, they call the Wild West, in some of these countries where there's just like, high crime or or poor living conditions. There's all kind of stuff that happens, and so the work could be exciting. But when it comes to the size of the posts, for living conditions, for example, or friendships, or you name it, I think medium is the best. So pros and cons: a small post is good because it's small. It's a small knit community. Might not, depending on where it is, it might be very busy, might not be. But you're really limited on your group of friends. You're really limited. You might be limited to your resources. You might only have yourself as an agent, right? The RSO. You might have another ARSO or not. And work could be, might overwhelm you. But some people like small posts. Larger posts are the opposite, where you might have a team of ARSOs, or you might be a small fish in a large pond, and like Baghdad, for example, and you want to be in protection, but there's so many people in protection that you might get, countermeasures or investigations or something like that. Big posts, again, depending on where you're at, but most times big posts, you're going to be a big fish, a small fish in a big pond. Medium posts, I think, is where it's at, man. I think you get you'll have a few other agents, like-minded people to work with. You'll have a good community of Americans to spend your time with, American diplomats. Of course, you can always find local friends depending on where you're at. You can always find American expats or expats from other countries, that you can hang out with. But medium posts, I think, are the best, just because of you'll likely have a few people that are in your field or in the RSO office, like-minded people that you can kind of run things, hang out with, run things by, when you're bidding, lean on each other for that type of reason. The communities are usually pretty strong at medium posts. And I'll say this, not looking at size of posts, but if you're in a post that's very westernized, or like the Bahamas, for example, as an embassy there, the communities aren't very tight. The American community just not very tight because there's so much to do. I mean, the beach is there. You can go snorkeling. You can go scuba. You can have a boat. You can do all these different things. And it's just like, look, I'm just gonna hang out with my family and the people in my office, and I never see people from other offices. Whereas when you're kind of locked down, or you're on a small post, you only have each other. But then what if you don't like those people, right? So there's a lot of variables there. Just think about how it would be if you're in a small post, place with just a few people that you may not like, or a bunch of people where you might be overwhelmed. So, take that for what it's worth. I talk about the Patreon a lot. I don't want to go to too much detail just because I don't want to sound salesy, but the question did come across, and I thought I would add it. There's a number of things I do with the Patreon. Number one is I post stuff there that's like behind the scenes stuff that you don't get on YouTube or Instagram. It's like inside embassy operations, right? And nothing, of course, sensitive or anything like that. I wouldn't do that, but it's good stuff to know about your living, your lifestyle. I tell stories that didn't make the book. There's stories that add value, but they might not have had enough meat to make the book. So I literally get headset on. I do a little podcast. It's just me talking, and I tell stories. We do happy hours. We do a virtual happy hours. Eventually, I'm going to get some guests to come on and talk. It's kind of a little community we're building. People call me and say, hey, I'm concerned about my medical. What should I do? What steps should I take? Hey, what about my clearance? And it's just an avenue to do that. It's $5 to get on for the basic membership, and then you could go all the way up to 75, where you could do everything from what the question was here, like, do you help applicants prior to the announcement, or during the announcement, the vacancy announcement? And then so if you got I don't know the answers to all this, but if you got a personal narrative, a statement of interest, a resume, that's all stuff that's required for that. Of course, I'll look it over. I'll make sure it conveys appropriately. It has the key words that you want it to have in. You want to be able to convey your experience accordingly for the job position. Just so happens I know the job position. I did it for a decade, and so I'm there to help with that. Other than that, if you've already passed that and you're going to the Bex Panel, then I basically am a sounding board. we do mock interviews so that you can, and I make up questions, and you answer those questions, and we go back and forth and say, well, you might want to consider this, you might want to consider that, or I help you pull that experience out from your background and apply it to the 12 dimensions that DS has created. And then like basic questions like, why do you want to do this job? I mean, this stuff ain't rocket science, right? This is stuff that you're going to get asked if you're in a corporate job, corporate sector or government sector or federal law enforcement sector. A lot of these questions are going to be the same. And so I just base my experience on that. And I've had great success with people that have worked with me to get past the Bex. So if you want to do it, it's like 75. It's a 2-month commitment at least. But we work to get you through it, and we schedule time. We do it virtually over Zoom. So no one else offers anything like this. I think it adds value, and I think ultimately the Patreon in general, I've had comments, but it says, hey, it's going to make me a better RSO or a better special agent in general because I'm giving information out there that can be used or applied across your career. So anyway, that's that. If this is your first video, again, I do stuff on YouTube. This is it, Cody Perron. YouTube. I have an Instagram account, _Inc. Off the X podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, check it out. Where I interview active and former DS special agents, plus all those that support the mission. And then I do, I have my book, Agents Unknown. It can be found on Audible or iBooks, in digital format and print on my website, codyperron.com, or on Amazon. Just Google it; it'll pop up. But yeah, I'm doing a few things. The objective is to get the word out. When I went through back in 2008, there was nothing out there, and there's a lot of anxiety for people that want this job. They really want it. It's really competitive, and so the more you know, the better. So anyway, if you're applying to the new announcement, it opened today. It closed quickly, and it's going to open again soon. Then get at it. Good luck to you, and let me know if I can help. All right, thanks, y'all. Out.